Grant is what you're probably going to get if you are even slightly low income. Okay, we were fairly low income. I got a Pell Grant that paid for my entire first 2 years of NIC, including books. I went to college for free for 2 years, simply because I had a single income household that wasn't super hot. Okay, when I went to U of I got a Pell Grant again, because we still weren't doing so hot, but only paid for half the tuition at U of I. Does that make sense? So it depends on the institution. So if you list several institutions on your FAFSA when you submit it, it'll give you all of them back. If you want to go to Wazoo, here's what we're prepared to offer you. If you want to go to NIC, here's what we're prepared to offer you. If you want to go to University of Montana, here's what we're prepared to offer you. Does that make sense? And it will break it down for you that way too, so you have a nice choice. You can see what your options are for financial aid for all of them.
So for higher colleges, let's say Yale, will they most likely offer you less if you want to a place like that?
No. That has nothing to do with that. Because the tuition is higher, you might qualify for less in terms of financial aid there, but also you have to factor in, that's not counting what Yale will give you.
Yeah.
This is just talking about what the federal government will give you, okay? If then you talk to Yale, and they say, oh no, we're gonna give you this scholarship and that scholarship, blah, 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 then that, then you have to combine them both and figure out what you're actually looking at. For institutions, it kind of depends on where you're at on the socioeconomic scale. If you're super low on that scale, if you're below the poverty line, they'll probably pay for anywhere you want to go, to be honest. With my situation, I think they set the bar at like $7 grand is what they were going to give me for my Pell Grant, which obviously covers NIC and covers about half of U of I. They probably would have given me that same dollar amount if I'd gone to Yale. Does that make sense? And then I'd have to find ways to pay for the rest of it. What's the what? I don't know the dollar amount. I have no idea. If you look it up, they're going to tell you by state. I don't know that there is a federal poverty line in terms of a dollar amount. That's why it's difficult to gauge. I can tell you what it is, and I did tell you what it is for Idaho, but different states have different standards of living, which is why it's difficult to establish like a national poverty line, if that makes sense. It depends on where you live. For FAFSA purposes, that's why I honestly couldn't tell you where they're gonna decide you need more or less aid. I can tell you that I got the Pell Grant that covered NIC and half of U of I, and this was 10 years ago, but my mom probably, I think it was like $25,000 a year, $30,000 a year, something like that, single income, and I got NIC covered and half of U of I with that. Does that help at all? Does that give you like a decent baseline?
How long does it usually take to get the FAFSA
stuff? Depends on how early you file it. Because if you file it early, there's going to be less people doing it that early. Most seniors wait until spring to file their FAFSA, which is real stupid. I would not recommend doing that. I'd say probably like a month or two. You'll have your FAFSA back by Christmas if you file it in October. You have to resubmit the FAFSA every year. You have to do all your financial aid every single year. It's not a one and done kind of thing where you submit it senior year and it covers you for all 4 years of college. You do the whole thing every single year. If your need doesn't change, then you'll receive the Pell every single year. The bonus, obviously the bad news is that you have to resubmit this every year, and that sucks. The bonus is once you get to college, they have so many more resources for this than high schools do. We can scream about the FAFSA, and we've got a list of local scholarships, and that's about all we do for you, to be honest. Like, sorry, but we don't, it's not a big focus of ours, which is super weird, and again, why I do this class. But we don't really do a lot here. In college, you can't not know when deadlines are, what scholarships are available. They will shove it in your face to the point that you're like, okay, I get it, scholarships, yes, FAFSA, on it, because they have like they recognize that the entire campus is poor college students who need scholarships and financial aid. So they'll shove it down your throat and you don't really have a choice, which is great. And they have a lot more resources than we do. There are a ton more scholarships, and there's ones that are tailored just to you. So it's actually a lot easier to do it when you're already in college. That makes sense. How are we doing so far? Okay, can we talk about the kinds of aid that we're going to be looking at here? Okay, 3 main kinds of aid are scholarship, grants, and loans. Okay, So let's take it from the start. Who knows what scholarships are? What is a scholarship? Anybody? Yeah. Could be, yes. Scholarships. Scholarships, the cool thing about them is they come from a variety of places. So they can come from a lot of places. Schools are a big one. What else about scholarships? What do you have to do to get a scholarship? Do you have to do anything?
Don't you like write a letter or something?
Totally depends. You could. Uh-huh. Generally speaking, what are scholarships given for? Could be. That's specific. That's specific as well, but also accurate.
Like excelling in a certain thing.
Ring-a-ding-ding. You gotta be good at something. You have to have a skill. You have to have a talent. You gotta be good at a thing. Does that make sense? There are qualifications for a scholarship. The two most common kinds are exactly what you two said, academic and athletic. Athletic scholarships are exceedingly rare, and I can't tell you how many of my kids go, oh, I'm gonna go to University of Montana and I'll probably just get a baseball scholarship or something. And it's like, it makes me kind of shiver when my kids say stuff like that. You can't just go pick one up like it's at a grocery store. Scholarships, people will seek you out to give them to you. If they're not seeking you out, you won't get one. Sorry, but like the ratio of high school athletes to college athletes is remarkably one-sided, okay? There are very few high school athletes that will go on to do that activity or sport in college, much less do it well enough to get a scholarship for it. So unless you're being actively pursued by a university or hopefully several for an activity or a sport, wait, bye-bye to athletic scholarships because that's not real, okay? And obviously I've got students that get them, I got one, it's totally doable, but I knew I was getting mine by my junior year, you know what I mean? Like I already knew I was gonna be having some kind of scholarship. If you don't know by right now, odds are good you probably don't have one. Okay. Soul-crushing moment one over there. Sorry. Academic scholarships are much more common, and that's a bigger range too. Some colleges will give you academic scholarships for grades that you might think are kind of mediocre. They still think they're great, and they're going to give you a scholarship for that. Remember we talked about the award letter that you're going to get when you apply to colleges? They send you an award letter back. That's free money that they're going to give you simply by applying. Okay, you didn't even have to work for that. They're going to write you back and say, because you have a 4.02 GPA, we decided to offer you blah amount as an academic scholarship. That's a good day right there. That's just money based on stuff you did in high school. You don't have to do anything for that other than apply to the college. And they're just giving you money. That's scholarships from your college or university, and they've got boatloads of those for a lot of different things, not just academics. Okay? A scholarship is free money, as in no strings attached. You don't have to repay it later. They don't add interest to it. It's just money they give you. Almost all scholarships are one-time only, unless you're lucky enough to get what's called a recurring scholarship, and they'll say that right off the bat. For example, if they give you your award letter and they say, based on your academics, we're going to give you a $5,000 recurring scholarship. That means they're going to give you $5,000 every year for 4 years that you're in college. Does that make sense? The one string that is attached to academic scholarships is, guess what? You have to keep your grades up. And I have a lot of kids that get an academic scholarship and they go, sweet, peace, I'm going to college, like C's get degrees, right? Like get on an academic scholarship? No, they certainly don't. Yeah, and they'll probably, what they almost always do is they're gonna set a GPA threshold for you, and if you slip below that, wait bye-bye to that scholarship. And that's a bad day. Okay? And they'll yank it in the middle of a year if they need to. When semester grades come out, if you've already sunk below that level, they'll yank that scholarship right there. Okay? So be real careful with that. I have a lot of kids that are banking on academic scholarships, but they have no intention of actually like pursuing academic rigor, and they're just going to float through college. Don't do that if you have an academic scholarship, because it will go away. Okay? But scholarships for whatever you get them for are gifts. Okay? Not to be repaid. The award letter will give you free money based on what you are on paper. And then we're also, we're going to talk, especially in the spring when the actual scholarship lists come out here, the local ones, we're gonna talk about like what you can also do for other scholarships that you apply for. That's what you guys are talking about, where you're talking about like maybe you have to write an essay, you have to do something else cool. Yeah, there's a bajillion of those, you guys. If you go online right now and Google college scholarships, you're gonna be overwhelmed by how many you find, and I don't recommend you do that. Have we talked about why? When you Google college scholarships and a million pop up right in front of your face, those are big national college scholarships that millions of people are going to be applying for, and you won't get them. It's a big pool, and you are a very small fish going for that scholarship. Don't do that. I actually actively caution my kids not to do that. What you want to do instead is do two other options. We have local scholarships, like I said, that I'm going to show you in the spring. They usually come out March, April-ish for our seniors this year. You won't be applying for these because you're not a senior yet. Sometimes they have specific scholarships for juniors, and Preston's going to shove those at me so that I can shove them at you, and we can apply for those. You know what I mean? Well, I'll get you as many as I can. They're usually pretty rare. Most of them are geared towards seniors. But these are local scholarships that are put out by a variety of people that are geared just towards Coeur d'Alene area seniors. There now we're talking the pool is much smaller. You are now a big fish in that pool, and your chances of getting that scholarship are exponentially higher. Go for those. Don't waste your time on the big millions, of scholarships, unless you have something that very few other teenagers have. I don't know what that would be. If that's you though, okay, then maybe give it a whirl. But otherwise, don't waste your time. Try to go for the local ones because they're just as much money and you have a much better shot at getting them. Here's how scholarships work, just to tell you what this even looks like. And this is why when I talk about scholarships to apply for, there's really no one way to tell you how to get them because it totally depends on the scholarship. I can make a scholarship right now. I can talk to Lake City High School and say, hey, I want to donate $500 a year to give to a senior that's going away, and I want to have it be a senior who has brown hair, and they're under 6 feet tall, and they got an A in environmental science. Just say. And that can be my scholarship. Anybody who meets those qualifications can apply for it. I want them to write a 1-paragraph essay about why cats are gross and no one should own them as pets. You write the essay, I screen those essays, I pick the winner, that winner gets $500. Bang, that's a scholarship. Does that make sense? That's how easy it is to do. I had a student that passed 8 years ago, and his parents set up a memorial scholarship for him for the duration of time that his younger brothers were in school, which was 6 years. And I gave the scholarship every year, and they wanted it to be based on moral character, for example. So they had a list of criteria. They wanted teacher references. They didn't care about grades at all. They wanted teacher references saying that you worked hard and you tried and you were nice in class. So they made that a requirement. They wanted evidence of extracurricular activities that you were involved in the school in some way outside of regular academic classes. And then they wanted something about volunteer work or something like that, that you do stuff with people to be nice. And that's it. They had them write a 1-page essay, and they submitted letters of reference, also letters of recommendation attached to it. I collected all the paperwork, I gave it to them, they looked through it, they picked, gave me the name, we announced it. We do an awards night, we do it here too for senior scholarships. I announced it there and gave a speech and gave them, and it was $1,500 that they gave out every year based on moral character. You kind of see how scholarships work? Totally depends on who wants to give it as far as how much money they want that scholarship to be, what they want the qualifications to be, what they want you to have to do to get it. It's completely up to that institution. For our local scholarships here, we've got scholarships that range from $250 up to $5,000. Okay? We have Hagedon that gives a big $5,000 scholarship every year, obviously, right? We've got scholarships that are they have a logging scholarship that applies only for children of loggers. They have a mining scholarship that applies just to children of miners. They have an Avista Utilities scholarship that applies just to children of Avista Utilities employees. They've got Bora Elementary scholarship just for kids who went to Bora in elementary school. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? So when that list comes out, what I have my seniors do is they run down the list and they tick which ones they even qualify for, which ones even apply to them, okay? And then they apply for those. and sometimes there's websites attached, sometimes it'll say pick up the application in the counseling office, and they just have a stack of them sitting there, and you just go grab one, okay? But it kind of depends. Some of them are going to require that you go to an Idaho college.